So guys, in this part we are going to moving our player. So let's go inside of our player controller. For moving our player, first we need speed. So here under our private int, I'm going to make a public float and going to call it speed. Now under our flip here we are writing rb dot velocity. That means the physics of our player. We want it to be new vector2. Inside we need the parentheses and we need the x and y value. So here input x multiplied by speed and because we don't want to do any changes in the y direction, so here we can write rb dot velocity dot y. That means we don't want any changes at y direction. We just want to change at x direction. So now I'm going to comment our lines. So here double slash, I'm going to write move player toward x direction. Here we are going to flip the sprite. So move ment value. So now let's save it and let's go and check it. So now if I'm going to play, you will see that our player doesn't move. And the reason is because of our speed. So be sure that you put a value for the speed. I'm going to put the 5. So as a speed. So now when I'm going to move, the player is going to move to other direction. As you see, it's going to fall down because we didn't stop it at rotation. It's we are going to, as soon as it's collide with something, it's going to rotate. So because as you see here inside of that, so I'm going to check it here. As soon as I'm collide with the ground, it's going to rotate. See, that's why we need in the rigid body to close that freeze rotation. We need to check this part, it's really important. So now you can see that if I'm going to move, we are not going to change the rotation value. So then be sure that you put the speed value for a speed, because if you don't put it, then your player is not going to move. So now we want to also to move the player and give the animation to it. So if I'm going to animator, here we have a parameters. I'm going inside of our parameters. Here click on the plus button. Here we want so float is when we want the number, and with the comma after that is a round number, and the bool is the true or false, and trigger is when we want to trigger animation. But at this point we want just to use the boolean. That means if our move is true, then we want to player to move to and activate the animation. And if you see there is some that you didn't use these animations, some else doesn't, you need really to care about that. Okay, then later we are going to remove them. It's just some normal one from the Unity. So now to make a movement here, we can just copy that, paste it, and I'm going to rename it to run. So inside, instead of idle sword, I'm going to click on that. So when I'm going to click on that, it's going to open all of our animations. I'm going to put the run animation inside of it. So run with sword. So now if I'm going to set it as a default layer, instead of the idle, we are going to running. But now we are not going to idle because it's just so indefinitely is in the one animations. So we need to, with the script, get access to this, and so from idle going to run. So let's set it back to default state, and here we are going to make a transition from idle to run, and from the run back to idle. Here let's go down. I'm here when the move is true, we want to run, and when the move is false, we want to stop. So moving, we want to go to idle. So now if I'm going to play, you will see when I'm going to click on the bool function, it's going to run. When I'm going to stop it, then it's going to stop. So move and stop. So now let's go inside of our script. Here under that, we want to, as you remember before, we make this value here. So if this value is bigger than 0, that means we are going to move the player. And at that time, we want to give an animation to our player. So here, if our input x is bigger than 0, or our input x is less than 0, then we want to activate that animation. Here we can write anim dot set bool, and we need to write the exact name of that animation bool. So that's the move to be true. Then here else, again anim dot set bool, the name of that animation, so move to be false. So here I mean the name of that animation, I mean the bool value name. So here let's save it. I'm going to just remember this one. It's need to be the same as this one. So be sure that the name is the same, because if you write the wrong one, your animation doesn't going to work. So now if I'm going to play, so we should be able to move the player to the left and right side. As you see, the player is going to move, but we have a little bit of a transition between each animation. That's why, because we have an exit timer. here, because of this exit time, we are not going immediately to switch the animations. So we need to disable the exit time and also the transition duration. That means we don't want this, that we want just immediately going uh, to the one animation. So I'm going to put it 0, and same here. We don't want exit time, and immediately going to idle. So now, as you see, as soon as I'm going to stop pushing the button, it's going to stopping and changing the animation. Nice. Now everything is worked with our watching. See you now guys in the next video.